It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
It's you liberals who have lifted them up, Howard.
Paul, you conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard. You liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Paul, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
That makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him.
It really boils down to our ability to accept. We don't need pessimism.
What he means by pessimism is resistance. And that's what COINTELPRO was all about, stopping the resistance.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change.
We hide it in plain sight. One of Plato's greatest works was the allegory of the cave. I feel in order to understand the political matrix, we need only to look into this allegory. We first have to open our minds to the possibility everything is not as it seems. That things we've always known to be truth may be lies. For if we can't perceive the lies we've ingested, we can't see the bars on our mental conditioning. For that is how you walk out of the cave and see the political matrix. Hello, everybody. It's the Political Matrix. I'm your host, Marcus Young Morpheus Cage. Guess I'll start with a shout outs to everybody who's here. Let's go back to the beginning. Senora Chamanique says, "Hi, Marcus. Have you seen the siblings Twitter beef where Koreans call out South?" Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to star that and come back to it, but shout out Chamanique. Kat says, any predictions on the U.S. attacks? Let me start that one also, come back to it. Hello, Kat. Good to see you. Jackie says, hi, Marcus and Till. It is my imagination, or does this week's picture show Trump with a piggy nose? Actually, it's been there. I kind of snuck that in a little while ago, and I don't know how many people had noticed it or not. But yes, he does have a piggy nose. Because I thought about, since he's calling that one girl piggy, and I mean, really, he's probably one of our fattest presidents. It's like the nerve. At least I think I did put little horns on him. I just don't think you can see him because he's like, his horns aren't as big as Mr. Was it Milowski or whatever? Listen to an old EP of Jamarl Thomas whistling. I'm waiting for the TV. I'm glad you guys are here. Finally out of camping hell deep in Mississippi. Be careful. Be careful. And shout out to John, definitely. Shout out to Tom also. Damn, John, you're 65, really? Man, doing good. And I did not know that. I definitely thought you were younger. Shows that black is not cracking. Although mine is probably cracking, not necessarily on the skin, but definitely the bones and joints. I figured for this show, before I hop into anything too much, this is gonna kind of be a little bit more informal show. I don't know, just I guess you know how after you've had a lot of stuff that you kind of witness with social media, and for those who have done shows like Tom, I know he definitely understands. When you research through tons and tons of information, sometimes after a while, some of this stuff just it kind of puts you in a bad mood that you have a little trouble shaking sometimes. And so right now I'm kind of in one of those funks. So I'm trying to kind of pay attention to different things, get myself out of it mentally. Um, Especially like how much of it is just negativity. And granted, there does start to build up a certain level, unfortunately, of acceptance to some of the traumatic and horrible things that are going on around the world, and you kind of deal with it and tolerate it, kind of just doing the news and opinions and being able to separate uh your humanity for the time being to just talk about the issues. But then sometimes the stuff just gets to you. I mean, so I guess I'll talk a little bit about that. Maybe it'll be therapeutic for me to get some of that off my chest. Um, but yeah, John says he still has his fro. I mean, I have hair, believe it or not. Here, I'll show you guys so I can prove I do have hair. But some people say, "Oh, those guys they wear hats all the time because they don't have any hair." I have hair. Um, it's not brushed or combed or anything, but yeah, I have hair. Um, but I guess I did want to talk about well, not talk, but I wanted to throw a couple of things out here and let's see. Here, I'm if you hear inadvertent videos pop up, my apologies because I'm trying to get the right stories on the screen first. Hold on. Trying to get the screens, get my stuff loaded up. So I was kind of dragging a little, so I didn't have everything up on the screen that I wanted to share. Is this no. Where's the Jesse Jackson one? Hold on a second. I want to start off with um, is this it? Or did I just click the same video twice? Yes, I just clicked the same video again. Here, hold on a second. Let me send this video to myself. I wanted to at least, start off by recognizing a historical titan, and especially, with it being Black History, and this person being a pivotal figure. I would like to bring him up. Now, I know that different people have their different viewpoints of the man, and that's fine and dandy. But for like overall, he was a very iconic figure, and he laid his mark on history. So I definitely want to give him his flowers right now. And then also at the same time, when I get into the Black History section, I'm going to kind of talk about it a little differently than a way I typically would. Last week I talked about uh, different historical figures throughout Black history, and talked about politicians and kind of done a little speed run. And of course, if you guys have any questions or anybody that you want me to elaborate on, I definitely am willing to do that. Very happy to do that. Um, but I've seen a couple of different commentary that I want to like address as far as Black history. And but but first, let me put this on the screen. Oh, not copy. Let me share my screen with you all. I think I clicked the same thing twice. Oh, wait a minute. I sent it to myself. I don't think I actually popped it up on my screen. So bear with me. Yeah. All right. Now let me share my screen. Now let me share my screen. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson had recently passed away. I don't want to get into the whole Trump and Jesse Jackson, none of that other stuff. Just want to share a little bit. And if it echoes or anything like that, make sure you guys put it in the chat. I'll be once I push play on this, I'll hop back over and be able to see your comments.
You can make it. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
Jesse Jackson in his prime. And that's where we will begin with the words of the civil rights leader and two-time presidential candidate, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. His family says that he died peacefully early this morning, surrounded by those he loved the most. He was 84 and had been ill for quite some time now. Jackson's public life lasted more than 50 years. He worked alongside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and founded the Rainbow Push Coalition, whose mission was equality for all. Jackson nearly became the Democratic nominee for president back in 1988. This morning, Dr. King's daughter posted a photo of the two men on X saying only this: both now ancestors. Beautifully said. Ed O'Keefe looks back on Jackson's life and legacy. Ed, good morning to you.
Gail, good to see you. Good morning. For decades, Jackson was a powerful and sometimes polarizing voice for change, emerging from the civil rights movement of the 1960s to become a national political figure and champion for marginalized communities across the country.
The people must unite to save humanity.
The preacher, civil rights activist, and presidential candidate was born in Greenville, South Carolina in 1941.
I was born next door to a white church. I could only attend as a janitor.
In his 20s, Jesse Jackson gained national attention as an aide to Martin Luther King Jr. and a leader of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference.
A shot cracked out from across the street, dropping him to the floor.
He was in Memphis on April 4th, 1968, when King was assassinated.
The white people's best friend is dead.
King's murder sparked tension between Jackson and other civil rights leaders as they struggled over who would lead their movement. Ultimately, Jackson launched his own organizations that later became the Rainbow Push Coalition, still advocating today for Black economic and political empowerment.
We shall fight this institutional racism wherever we see it.
He also became an international hostage negotiator. In 1984, he helped win the release of an American pilot from Syria. Later, he'd broker freedom for Americans held in Cuba, Iraq, and Kosovo.
To the White House!
His activism and diplomacy buoyed Jackson's first campaign for president in 1984.
We do not just need a new president, we need a new direction. Our leaders are talking too little to too many leaders in this world.
Jackson ended up placing a stronger than expected third in the Democratic primary. In 1988, his second campaign focused on increasing government spending and U.S. support for the Third World. But he came up short once again.
We must never surrender. America will get better and better.
After campaign politics, Jackson was a talk show host and was an early supporter, but occasional critic, of Barack Obama's presidential bid, famously photographed in Chicago's Grant Park on election night, 2008. Initially diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, Jackson revealed in 2025 he'd been battling progressive supranuclear palsy, a long-term degenerative brain condition. But his public appearances continued, more as a supporter of a new generation of activists fighting for voting rights, fair housing, and police reform. Echoing the same message he spent years preaching.
And nobody can stop us now. Moving on up. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
In a statement this morning, Jackson's family wrote, quote, "Our father was a servant leader, not only to our family, but to the oppressed, the voiceless, and the overlooked around the world. His unwavering belief in justice, equality, and love uplifted millions. We ask you to honor his memory by continuing the fight for the values he lived by." The family says all public events celebrating Jackson's life will be held in his home city, Chicago. Details have not yet been released. Gail, when he ran for president back in 1984, when he spoke to that convention, he said, "My constituency is the desperate, the damned, the disinherited, the disrespected, and the despised. They are restless and seek relief. They voted in record numbers." When he ran in 1988, he said, "I'm not a perfect servant. I'm just a public servant." And he's lived a good life. Gail?
He really has.
Yeah, and so with sharing that and kind of going over his kind of overview of his legacy, in the most flowery of terms. I guess I'll speak a little bit on, just put all the things out there and I guess kind of do the best I can from my perspective. I see a couple of comments out there. Let me sure. And I'll start with Chamonix's. It says, Says yesterday Jason Black did a show on Jesse Jackson. He got a lot of backlash from his audience against Jesse Jackson. They say he never did anything for FBA. And so this comment, how I would push back to that in general, I guess this will kind of show where I am at mentally right now. I honestly feel like, short of what they already did as far as the civil rights movement, I don't see very much more that they were going to get. I don't see very much more that was going to change. If you think about the civil rights movement, there was already concessions made along the way. I mean, the march to Washington wasn't supposed to be a march to the mall. They were actually planning to march all the way to Congress and onward to the White House after that to demand actions. And they didn't get very far with that because you had I'm trying to remember who's the one from Baltimore? John Lewis. John Lewis at that time cautioned to MLK and hey, well, why don't we just do this and not go as far, and let's go along to get along in a sense. And if you look at many of the things that continued on even after the civil rights movement, many ways where redlining and things like that were still going on, where you still had sundown towns, where you still had the Klan roaming through the South. You had a lot of different things going on. And I have a hard time understanding what more would the Civil Rights Act have actually accomplished. Because at the same time, I question what it actually achieved. Though I personally think that we should be able to all coexist and we shouldn't have segregated things. And we shouldn't live in a segregated world. But once segregation ended, it actually started Black wealth actually started being zapped out of our communities. So in one respect, where you had lower middle class and impoverished to upper middle class and middle class, and you had all of these different socioeconomic groups that can help pull each other up. What happened is the middle class and upper middle class started to try to move away from the low income and impoverished, and they didn't have that part of the community to help pick each other up and give each other opportunities. And I think that harmed the Black community in many ways. It also led more towards the mentality which slavery instilled in us to look out for yourself. Because the moment you stick your neck out for somebody, there's going to be consequences for you and everybody you love. So I feel like there was so much that was put into us and instilled into us by things that have happened to us in this country. So I don't know what they would have got accomplished. Just like the FBAs right now, many of them who are crapping on Jesse Jackson, what have any of them accomplished? They can all sit there and they could, make their comments from the cheap seats, but none of them have accomplished anything. All they do is get online and they talk about what they plan to do and how we need to gatekeep. How do you gatekeep things that you don't even have control of? We need to gatekeep our music. We need to gatekeep our fashion. You don't control none of the fashion industry. You don't control none of the TV. You don't control anything. So what are you gatekeeping? In order for you to gatekeep, you have to have the ability to enforce if somebody breaks these rules. I mean, I was hearing about the Super Bowl and all these K-pop fans are talking about that they feel like that K-pop should be in the Super Bowl halftime performance next year because what they understood from Bad Bunny's performance and before that Kendrick Lamar's performance and looking at Rock Nation, what they took away from it is this is about inclusion and including everybody, which that's not what this was about at all. You guys got a completely misunderstanding of why certain people performed and all that. But that's another argument I'll get into. But I feel like people misunderstand things, and I don't feel like the FBA has accomplished anything and are accomplishing anything themselves. So how do you spend so much time criticizing somebody who actually does have tangible things that they've accomplished? That said, I do not think the man was perfect. I definitely don't. And I do understand people who said that they believe that there's a possibility that he had something to do with MLK's death. That's possible. I don't know anything concrete, never found anything concrete, but I've always heard the rumors. But I look at it like this: with the FBI surveilling him, I don't think that they had a hard time, figuring out where he was going to be to set up a sniper on him. So I don't I mean, he could have been helping, may have, may not. I don't know. I feel like that wouldn't have stopped the FBI from taking him out anyway. And I don't feel like that led directly to him being taken out. But I get, you know, worrying about a Jesse Jackson who was looking to try to self promote and elevate himself. That's the reason why I hear what Tom is saying, that he was a sellout to black folks. Yeah, but I don't think what could he have really accomplished for black folks? I mean, he couldn't get himself in office, and that's not a slight on him. Could get himself in office. If Martin Luther King couldn't get, better wages for black people, then I definitely don't think Jesse Jackson could have done it. They weren't able to get better working conditions, and many of things that the civil rights era didn't accomplish. And I'm not trying to crap on it. I really am not. I'm just trying to say we are fighting such an uphill battle. And when you don't have representatives in the government that are going to stick their neck out for you to accomplish things, and you don't have sympathy within the government to want to change or accomplish these things, and then you have a populace who either they could care less and don't have a feeling either way, or they're openly hostile towards any kind of help or changes, what do you do? What can you get done? That would be my take on it. And shout out, I see you in here, Bad Cookies. And what's up, Chris H? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I will talk about Mexico also. Atris says, Jackie says, I remember Yonina last week or 2 weeks ago saying that there are 500 sundown towns in Illinois alone. I don't know if there's still that many. I mean, I'd hope not. I pray not. But there were sundown towns easily, I want to say, all over this country up until probably the 80s. I mean, hell, some of these towns, I still get nervous riding through in the South. I mean, when John talked about being in Mississippi, I mean, I remember driving through Alabama, Mississippi myself and seeing literally one of the largest Confederate flags I've ever seen in my life. And I remember being in Alabama in the 2010s, I think, and seeing a billboard about a digital, like modern billboard about like God knows who hung blah 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 on the street. And I'm like, they are still hanging black people in Alabama to this day. So, and obviously the people got away with it. So I don't have this rosy feel that so much has changed and so much has been accomplished. Yes, there are individual cases of black people who have been able to reach to different heights and accomplishments, but that's just it. It's on an individual level. As a community, as a whole, I do not see black people in a better state. Maybe a better state just because things overall technology and things are better, but I don't see like if you look like our household net worth has went down. I mean, you look at well, I can't even say like incarceration rates or something like that, because when you think about black people who are actually incarcerated, I get people try to portray these different numbers, especially a lot of people that are conservatives, but it still equals down to about 1% of black people. I'm talking about black Americans in particular. 1% are involved in being locked up and career criminals and all that. It's just that for some reason in America, black people, for the most part, are the only ones who everybody focuses on, with the 1% of us who are doing negative and bad things as the representation of our whole group, whereas everybody else is doing exactly the same thing. The rest of their people, it's not a reflection on them. They're an individual case. But let two people go out there and do a drive-by, and that's a representation of all black people. It's just kind of how this system is. Um, I'm so over FBA. Like for instance, I saw how FBA is acting about the Super Bowl performance with Bad Bunny, and they're like, "Oh, well, Latinos are talking about y'all not out there protesting for us." For one, l- let's do some numbers here. Just in America alone, there's roughly about 68 to 70 million people who identify as Latino. Just because you can find 15 people online who said something, that does not give you an excuse to rail on a whole entire community. But when you have people who are intentionally trying to be divisive, that's the kind of crap that you get. There are people talking about, all I saw is Bad Bunny is trying to copy off of Kendrick Lamar. At no point did anybody in reggaeton ever deny African roots, African heritage, the African influence in the music, or black American influence. No, nobody's ever denied that. Nobody's ever acted like screw them. In fact, in the reggaeton community as a whole, many of them do have black heritage, and or the ones who don't have an affinity and grow up, like I hate the word idolizing, but looking up to and model themselves after black Americans, and it's not an insult. So the fact that so many black Americans feel so offended, I don't know. I mean, well, I'm not even say black Americans. I'll say FBA. FBA found like they just took this and how they conflate all Latinos. I mean, Bad Bunny's Puerto Rican. The, a Puerto Rican and a Mexican are not the same thing. A Mexican and a Guatemalan is not the same thing, and so on and so forth. You can't sit there and because of your relationships that you've had between, say, blacks and Mexicans in Oakland, and that's a representation of a relationship that you have with Panamanians over here in North Carolina. It's not the same thing, and it just irritates me so much because I didn't grow up with this divisive crap that a lot of these people grew up with, apparently. And you get online and you have all these people who have all this division that they've dealt with, and all they do is push more division. And they look for one example of one person of that group who said this one thing to go at everybody as a whole. And I'm just so tired of it. So tired of it, especially since FBA worries so much about stuff like this and halftime performance when you're not worrying about how you can build up the people who are struggling the most in your community. Yeah, they'll sit there and talk about, well, this person is dating that person, and Dr. Umar, Snow Bunnies never, and all this shit like that. But you know what? Look at the relationships that are going on internally within the community. Focus internally first before you spend all your energy worrying about what the hell everybody else is doing. I mean, hell, Dr. Umar, he's on Pan-Africanism, and you got, the FBA's on the let's just get to the smallest group of us who are the pure Black Americans, and it's like, okay, now what? Now you're going to worry about reparations, and with what 2% of the population is somehow going to get these reparations. It's like, I don't get it. I'm just frustrated with a lot of these people's, mentality and their thinking. And I mean, I've seen the divisions between the racist crap from Koreans, and then I've seen the FBAs on their BS, and then I've seen what is it, the Argentinians, on their bullshit. And it's just, I'm so tired of all of this, just people looking for reasons to bitch and moan. They're looking for reasons just to be against somebody. And that's the reason why I said last week, I said, I'm at the point now where I'm not worried about, Pan-Africanism or FBA unity, or, or Black and Brown alliances, or Latino alliances, or Puerto Rican alliance. I'm not worried about none of these alliances anymore. I'm about building community with people who build community with me, and everything is a case by case basis. I'm tired of dealing with the division. And it's like, if that's the energy that you come in with, keep that bullshit over there. I want no parts of it. Yeah, the K-pop. Let me put this on the screen. The K-pop thing, I do not understand. I don't know. Somebody, maybe they can enlighten me. But when did Koreans even become like big fans of the NFL? Like, what is that about? I mean, and let me explain this for those who don't understand why Bad Bunny was picked to do the halftime performance. It's clear and simple. The NFL is trying to expand. The NFL has been trying to expand for many, many years. First, they start trying to move into Europe, and they didn't really get that to take as much. There was an NFL Europe for a while. They had the Rhine Fire and a couple other teams. That fizzled out. And then what they started noticing a large group of they started noticing that they were starting to have a lot of fans within Latin America. A lot of fans. That's why you start seeing these games in Mexico, and they start having now they're putting some games in Brazil, and I know Brazilians, most of them speak Portuguese, only like 30% speak Spanish. But anyway, they are looking at other areas throughout Latin America to try to move the NFL to. And I think also probably they would love to probably take out the CFL, the Canadian Football League, and get some Canadian football teams part of the National Football League, because they want to grow the sport. They want to compete with soccer. That is the number one sport in the world, and that's the goal. And if you could do NFL teams within Latin America, I'm not sure which teams you would go for. I mean, maybe a team in Panama, that's not that far away. That makes some sense. Maybe you do a team in Puerto Rico. I don't know. Maybe eventually you do. Well, definitely, you probably can put 2 teams in Mexico. I think that will probably hurt many of the teams on the West Coast, though. But I could also see where you could put a team into Toronto or Ontario. Maybe Calgary. I don't know, but I can see, and that's the goal. And so by putting Bad Bunny, who's the biggest international artist for the last 4 years in a row, and also that your goal is to move into Spanish-speaking countries, and then the fact that Puerto Rico is a part of the United States, and a big chunk of New Yorkers who are Dodgers fans. I mean, not Dodgers fans, but Yankees fans, Mets fans. Some of them are Jets fans, Giants fans. I mean, you had a Victor Cruz a couple of years ago, really showing his Latino hair. I mean, haven't you guys seen the commercial por la cultura, where it's talking about for the culture? It's literally, the NFL has been pushing that, and K-pop to me doesn't make any sense because that would just be for one performance. Is that gonna boost a whole bunch of new fans to the NFL? No, they're gonna show up for one fucking game. Whereas this appeal to Latin America, it is generating fans who are watching week in, week out, becoming fans of different teams. That is what the goal is, not just to get you to show up for the fucking Super Bowl. So K-pop makes no sense to me. Also, as far as America, most of the K-pop fans are probably under the age of 30. Most people over 30 in America are not listening to no damn K-pop. And I don't think are ever going to listen to K-pop. Hey, Lady Alex, good to see you. I don't think K-pop is ever going to be some kind of big trend. Also, the fact of K-pop is basically just kind of a ripoff of, 90s R&B and hip hop. And the fact that Koreans have a bad reputation for hating black people on top of ripping off our music, I think that's a bad look to try to bring K-pop into it. It's kind of like the same thing with here's another thing. Not only is Bad Bunny international, but Bad Bunny has a ton of fans within the United States. I guarantee you, though Bad Bunny is international, he has far more fans in the United States than K-pop does. So that's the reason why it's about the internet. It's about them trying to, branch out internationally. But aren't you fighting the Lenny Kravitz fan club? Is there still a Lenny Kravitz fan club out there? Let's see. What is that? Let's see. El Rey says, Marcus, there was a novella in the late 90s, stopped the war in Serbia while they watched the finale for 2 hours. Name was Esmeralda. Has any K-drama done that? I don't know. That's a good question. I have to look into that. It's a good question. Yes, I am definitely old enough to remember Lenny Kravitz. I honestly think, yeah, this is unpopular. I guess I'll just go ahead and say it. For the Super Bowl performance next year, just so that it doesn't get taken away from Jay-Z and it goes back to kind of the performances of the past, I almost kind of want him to just surrender and give the MAGA conservatives or not even really MAGA, but just give the people who miss those all American type, give them their country like roundup of whoever the hell they want, and everybody else we'll just bite our teeth and grin and bear it. Full disclosure, I don't like country music. I've never liked country music. Whenever I hear country music, all I think is racism. Not saying everybody who is a country fan is racist. I'm just saying that I grew up around a whole bunch of racist people, and that's all they listen to is country. So that's what it generates in my mind. That's what it reminds me of. For other people, different story. I get it. But for me, I've never liked country music and don't think I ever will. And I love pretty much every other genre. Well, except for I don't like polka. There's a bunch of genres of Mexican music I don't like either, to be honest. But yeah, that's just telling you how I feel. Yeah, I don't Accord. I don't mess with K-pop. If I'm gonna listen to R&B music, I'm gonna go ahead and listen to the original over here. I'm not listening to them lip sync and their bad boy what is it, Backstreet Boys type fucking moves. It's like watching New Kids on the Block again. I hated that crap when I was in school as a kid. I don't want to hear that shit anymore. Led Zeppelin, The Cure, Stevie Wonder. Yeah, no problem with any of those. Yeah, I'm telling you, John, it's nothing but bad imitation. And it'd be one thing if you actually liked and respected black people and weren't just racist towards us. So It's kind of funny. Let me bring this up. What Alex said here. Music, like most Americans, has regressed. It's yes, because if you go back to like Garth Brooks, who was like one of the top music people, he was talking about freedom and equality for people to love whoever they loved. You know, a country music star talking about LGBTQ in his song. I mean, sounds crazy to think, but yes, he's talking about all kind of different things and not being racist and but that's how much it's changed to, or at least that's what the perception of like country automatically aligns with right wing, and right wing right now does not have a good look to it. Dave Matthews and John Mayer at Super Bowl 61 will heal the nation. Dave Matthews did perform. His was actually boring. He really was boring. I'm telling you. Honestly, like I remember one of the better ones that I saw that kind of surprised me was the Who. The Who, I mean, I thought they did a damn good job. Um, what's another one? Coldplay. Coldplay did a damn good job. So it's not that I only like R&B, hip hop, reggaeton, and I'm in a wheelhouse. There's other people that I would be cool with seeing, but it's just some of these I'm not feeling it. Yes, exactly. They call their own Southeast Asian brothers monkeys. Yeah, these people, I'm telling you, granted, it's maybe not the K-pop artists have said this, but right now Koreans don't have and the crazy like I didn't grow up around Koreans. And what I've learned is it's kind of interesting depending on where you grew up, which part of the country you grew up. Many people get these ideas in their head and they assume that it's the same for everybody. Like I remember when I moved out here to California and I had people were like, "Man, you know how Samoans do this?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know how Samoans do whatever you're talking about. I didn't grow up around Samoans." And they're like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, the first time I ever met a Samoan is when I moved to California." They're like, "What? You know, you're serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's a fact. In many, many states, there's literally zero Samoans who live there." Um, just like I didn't grow up around any Koreans at all. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't grow up around Asian people, but I did not grow up around Koreans. In Kansas City, you had a very strong Chinese population. You had Filipinos, you had Thai, Cambodian, Laos, but I never remember meeting anybody from Vietnam, Korea, so it's just different. It's just like I I later found out like that some of the kids I went to school with were Jewish. Growing up, I didn't even know that I knew any Jewish people. So I think it does make a difference because like I remember hearing this one Jewish person on this thing. I was on like a panel when he was like, that's anti-Semitic remark. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm not around Jewish people. I don't even know what some of these tropes are that you're even talking about. I had to learn of these things a couple of years ago. And so maybe because where they come from, some of these things are so well known that they just assume it's the reality for everybody, and it's really not. I mean, you might grow up in an area where all the Hispanics are a certain way, or all these people are that way, or most of these people are all Baptists, or but you got to realize the United States is a very, very large country. And many people have very, very, very different experiences. And so we can't take what our experience was in our community, in our area, and put that off on every single part of the United States. Marcus listens to Skrillex when he sculpts Potter. That's a funny image. That is a funny. I don't know who Skrillex is. Wait a minute. I think they're a rock group, right? I think they are. Charmonique says, I went to elementary school with half Japanese, half Mexican guy. He was pretty cool. Yeah, like I didn't grow up with any Japanese kids either. I remember we had one girl when I was like in 7th grade moved there from Hawaii, and everybody treated her like she came from. I mean, I don't want to say like they treated her like she came from another planet, but they were like everybody was like, "What? Oh, Hawaii? Like Hawaii is like a gazillions of miles away," and like everybody was so like gazillions of questions for bombarding her with questions because none of us had ever been to Hawaii. None of us had ever met a Hawaiian. None of us really knew anything about Hawaiian culture, minus what we saw on TV. I'm not get into my. Ooh, hold on a second. I'm gonna click my camera off real quick because I am getting a little toasty in this hoodie. So let me knock this hoodie off for a second. Oh goodness. All right, that's better. John says, when I got in the army, I was glad to meet people other than blacks, whites, and Hispanics. Yeah. Like for instance, I think on the it's not as common on the East Coast to run into to Afro Latinos. I mean on the West Coast, it's not nearly as common. And so I know a lot of people who I met, especially in the Navy, where they were first going to, they were coming from like Cali or something like that, and they went out to out to Florida, and some of them got a rude awakening when they decided to start talking a whole bunch of trash in front of random black people and didn't realize like, nah, they're Dominican, they understood every word you said, or that person's Puerto Rican, they understand every word you said, or they're Brazilian, they understood you also, or just the fact of some of these people decided that they were going to go to school and learn the language. So you might have this white person completely of British and Irish heritage who speaks fluent Spanish because they do business in Spain or something. So, you know, everybody got different experiences, and let's not try to take what we experience and push it off on everybody else. Uh, let's see. Oh, let me finish. Oh yeah, and this goes to what Chamonix was saying here. It says, "Hi Marcus, have you seen the siblings Twitter beef with Koreans?" Yeah, it's been getting kind of crazy, and it looks like now all the different Asian groups have kind of been getting in on it. China's been getting in on it, and um Japan, India, all of them have kind of been. It's kind of been like everybody against um Koreans, and now it looks like you've had what, Puerto Ricans, black people, and Brazilians have now somehow gotten into this beef also. So it's like everybody against Koreans, which it's kind of funny. Like my first awareness or understanding of Koreans at all um was from what is it? Like Don't Be a Menace, and you have the racist Koreans, running the corner store. And I don't know if that's. I mean, it's obviously some truth to it because it's something that you see repeatedly in movies, and then it seems like I would say 50-50. Every time I run across a Korean's content, I don't have to wait very long to hear him say some racist shit, whether that's racist towards black people or racist towards Indians or racist towards Japanese. But it just seems like, I don't know, it's something about that population. They got some problems with race. And also, they're also one of the places that are really bad on the bleaching. I think it was a Korean was the girl Korean? I don't remember. I think she might have been Korean, where she was an influencer, and I guess like she had one of those filter things on, and the filter thing slipped, and they saw her actual complexion and looks, and she lost like majority of her she lost majority of her followers like almost instantly. Coldplay is where you take your side piece. That's funny. Um, they want to push the media. Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. So, do a lot of people in the UK hate you too? Not sure about Bruce Springsteen. That's a good question. I mean, isn't what you two are they Irish? Oh, well, I'll see you later. Thanks for dropping in, Lady Alex. Um, let's see. So, what was the next person I wanted to bring up? Granted, I did touch on Puerto Ricans for a little bit, but I do got to bring up while we're still talking music. This is a New Yorican icon, which he passed away also. So I just wanted to kind of bring him up just for a minute. You know, rest in peace to him.
Bronx-born salsa giant and political activist Willie Colon has died. And that is just one of the hundreds of incredible songs performed by Colon. His Puerto Rican heritage allowed him to elevate Latin music to new heights. The trombone-playing band leader and singer also ran for Congress in the 1990s. Colon ended up as an advisor to former Mayor Mike Bloomberg. Colon's family says the lifetime Grammy winner passed peacefully this morning at age 75.
Big loss for sure.
Exactly.
Coming up.
Yeah, R.I.P. to Willie. He's a true icon. I mean, and it's kind of cool that Bad Bunny was able to put him into his song and kind of throw a little shout out to him. One of Bad Bunny's songs on his latest album is Nueva York, which is basically like it's kind of like Puerto Rican, that Puerto Rican New Yorican accent for saying New York. Um, but and it was going into like a lot of the Puerto Ricans from New York, and Willie Colon was one of the ones he brought up because in the salsa world, even if you're not, even if you're just somebody who just likes to dance to salsa music, you definitely have probably heard at least one of his songs. And so R.I.P. to him. Let's go on to what else do I got here on stuff that I pulled up. I got that up twice. I don't know why. And in brighter news, there has been an Olympic first, and normally I don't get all excited every time there's a first black this or first black that because in the world of like politics and stuff like that, I feel it's kind of tokenized, and it's typically somebody who is already kind of risen to the top levels in their career, and they're already kind of in a different social economic level. So that person, when they're moving up, it's kind of like, yeah, you kind of already live in a beyond race kind of society. But when it's somebody who kind of moves up from the bottom and they're able to do one of these accomplishments, I always find it, it's always, it's uplifting, I feel. And from being one of those kids who when I would go to the skate land, I would always like race around on this, especially like on the carpet part, and like go as fast as possible. And I always figured if there was a sport like this, I would be great at it. And little did I know that speed skating was an actual thing. But here, I wanted to share this with you guys. Congratulations to Aaron Jackson. Sorry, got tongue tied. Aaron Jackson for her accomplishment. Aaron Jackson has now become the first Black woman to win an individual winner Olympic gold medal. I don't know, it's just something about that that just feels good. Um, it's like I would love also to see um an actual documentary. I'm pretty sure it's out there. I need to find a documentary of Cool Runnings because I remember I don't know if you would consider necessarily Black history, but I always loved watching, Cool Runnings and it's showing the Olympic the Jamaicans getting their Olympic team, Olympic bobsled team. I just thought it was such a cool thing. So, congratulations to young Aaron Jackson. Hopefully, she can win many more. And hopefully, she can inspire a whole new legion of young Black girls to say, hey, wait a minute, there's other sports that we can try out. We can get into ice skating. We can get into speed skating. We could do floor exercises and gymnastics. And it doesn't always have to be tennis or basketball. You know, I don't know. I think it's just exciting. Yeah, yeah. Cool Runnings was based off of a real life event. You had a couple of Jamaican sprinters who they didn't make it into they didn't make it because one of them got tripped up and he tripped up the a couple of the other ones. The guy who was supposed to be the favorite that year and a former Canadian bobsledder who was a disgraced bobsledder who had just happened to be on the island. Um, the what was it, Doris? Is it Doris Bana? I think something like that. I just know I think his first name was Doris. He's the one who went to him and decided to get together and put this team together. And because he decided, no matter what, I want to go to the Olympics, and they put that team together. Yeah, that's the part. Sanka, you dead? He's like, let me kiss your lucky egg. But also that showed like some of the racism that they face. It's horrific that what they had to go through, but it's I don't know. I think it's a story of pride for the fact of where they started from, having no experience, didn't know anything about the sport, coming into it as adults, putting that together in like 8 months or so, and then actually being able to put a cart on the ice. And even when that makeshift cart like fell apart, how they were able to pick up their sled and march across the finish line with their heads held high is just, those are the kind of, stories that I really love and especially for, the younger Black kids to show them those stories, especially during Black History Month. And this kind of goes into one of the topics where I kind of wanted to speak a little bit about Black history. I've seen I remember the clip where Morgan Freeman is saying, I don't want a Black History Month. I don't care about Black History Month. Black history is American history. I don't want you relegate my history to a month. And it's not that. It's if you were like for instance, when I was in school, I can't speak on everybody else's experience, but in my experience in school, they didn't talk about any Black achievements throughout the rest of the year. They didn't put Black history into the rest of history. The only thing that they talked about Black people for was slavery. Outside of slavery, Black people didn't get mentioned about anything. There wasn't nothing like, oh, well, by the way, that this inventor was Black during whatever we were talking about. That was never brought up. It was never brought up that, oh, well, did you know that this Black person helped and this and this and it was basically assumed that everybody that we're talking about is white. And so I think Black history is important to show, young Black kids that, we did have more to contribute to this than just being, the forced slave labor of this country. Granted, sometimes it wasn't like some of these things you got to be careful with inventors and stuff because sometimes people are, what's the word? They're not quoting the achievement accurately, or whereas it might have been something that helped change it or define it. It wasn't the invention itself. Like perfect example, one of my favorite would be Garrett A. Morgan. One of his creations was basically the stoplight. Now, his version of the stoplight, let me some people will say, "Oh, he created the red, white, and yellow, traffic light that we're used to." Well, that's his invention led to that, yes. But let me see if I can show you guys exactly what his looked like. Because let's see. All right, now let me share my screen. I keep hitting the copy. So this is what it actually looked like. This one right here. You see where it has stop and go. That's what it looked like. And so basically, this is where the idea for, it would turn and okay, you stop, now you go. Now you stop, now you go. And then eventually that led to this, the traffic light which we see today. For instance, let me think, what's another one? Um, why am I blanking on his name? Um, the one with it, like for instance, there's a for the elevator doors. The elevator was created by something Otis, but they didn't have automatic closing doors. Later on, there was somebody who came out with automatic closing doors, but then there was a Black inventor who refined that creation and made the improvements that led to what the modern day version of those automatic doors would be for the elevator. So that's where I mean, like some of the creations, some of these videos where they talk about the creations, it's true to it, but it's not exactly how it was. But for instance, like Garrett A. Morgan, um, one of his other inventions, it led to so many things that we deal with today. For instance, it what is it? The gas mask breathing apparatus. He had created this machine. Let me go back, see if I can bring it up. He understood how carbon monoxide, that it actually sat like in a certain area where it sat, and fresh air would come down closer towards the ground level, and he created this whole apparatus with a long tube that held down to the ground that was able to pull fresh air in, and that led to, let's see, This is what his looked like. This one right here, and it had a long tube that led down to the ground, that led to a modern gas mask. And that eventually, people made, revisions to that, and eventually gave the full air tanks, and changed the mask design a little bit. But he's the one who came up with this. Um, and him and his brother, they saved over him and his brother, they saved over 32 people who were in the mines. And once they found out that he was black, they didn't want nobody wanted to buy his invention. Yes, well, you can give him credit for both, actually, Chris H. You can give him credit for both, actually. What's and then there's what's her name? It's kind of crazy. I can see her face so clearly. I think it's Valerie. Let me see. Let me type this in. Is it Valerie Johnson? Let me think. 3D. What's her name? Valerie. I was right. Valerie, is it Valerie Thomas? That's her name. Here, let me put this on the screen. And so some people will give credit, but they won't exactly understand what they're entirely giving credit for. Valerie Thomas revolutionized 3D imaging. Meet Valerie Thomas, the NASA scientist inventor who changed the way we see images. According to NASA, in 1980, she patented the illusion transmitter device that creates the optical illusion of 3D images, technology later used by NASA in satellite applications. Her innovations didn't stop there. Thomas also helped develop software to process satellite data, making space science more accessible. After a groundbreaking career, she retired in 1995 as associate chief of science of space science data operations. Well, that technology that she had, um, it people took that technology and was able to kind of figure out more applications for it, and that ended up leading to some of the breakthroughs in CT scans and imaging and stuff like that. So some of the scans which they do in medical field actually come from her 3D imaging patents. So I mean, I could go more and more into different people. Another one. Hold on, let me pull up. That I remember this is one we learned in school, and then when I talk about it, a lot of people are like, "Who are you?" I've never heard of that person. Who are you talking about? There's actually a school back home even named this. Benjamin. If I could spell today. So Benjamin Banneker was an American naturalist, mathematician, astronomer, and almanac author. He was born in Baltimore, a freed African American. Um, his mother and father had been formerly enslaved. Banneker had little to no formal education, was self-taught. Let me skip down because some of his inventions that he came up with actually led to him freeing his wife and child because his wife and kid were still enslaved. Let me find what was He took applications from a watch and was able to make the large model clocks. Some people say that yeah, here it is. He appears to have modeled his clock from a borrowed pocket watch by carving each piece to scale. The clock continued to work until his death, which there was a fire that burned up his place, and it burned up the clock, of course. But yeah, there's so many other, where there's these pivotal, 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 you know, uh, black leaders and black icons, inventors and stuff like that, and you'll have people out there almost discrediting them because people won't get exactly what their contribution was. And sometimes it wasn't that they were the ones who invented said thing. It's their addition to said thing is what gave us our modern version of the thing. Um, I know one of our favorites, many people who were Gen X or elder millennials, you all love what's his name? Or love his invention. And he was a literal rocket scientist. What's his name? I think he's Lonnie Johnson. Um, and put him on the screen. Yeah, Lonnie Johnson, who worked for NASA, also was an actual rocket scientist. That's something also that even outside of his invention, the fact that he's a rocket scientist, that's somebody for young black kids to be able to look up to, and be inspired to push for more than just being, a rapper or being a pro athlete. Here he is with his super soaker. He was working on something as far as like pumps and other things at the time, and was like, wait a minute, this kind of works, for a cool toy that I think kids would like. I mean, he also has patents on many other things that are a little bit more complex, and that it's like it's hard to even explain now. Which I get. Some of these things that people created, it was so like complex and so above the average person's head. It's hard for us when we're trying to talk about their contributions to history to be able to actually even understand it enough to explain it out. So yes, you say you still got your super soaker, huh? Yeah, the U.S. is wild. Black people did all these things for the U.S., but are marginalized regardless. And there's still plenty of white people in this country who walk around right now and will tell you that black people never accomplished anything. That the only reason why any things that they know is because of white people. That if they would have been left alone, we'd be in huts in Africa somewhere. So be thankful for slavery because they saved us. That I'm not sure. I can look that up. That he may have did something with that, but I'm not for certain. I just remember there were tons of things that he did. Yes, that is correct. It says Benjamin Banneker was self-taught African American surveyor and farmer astronomer. Also played a crucial role in surveying the 100 square mile territory for Washington D.C. in 1791. Hmm. And it's like some of these people, you barely hear anything about them. And so when people say, why do we need Black history? because outside of Black history, they're not going to talk about these people at all. And I mean, I don't think everybody gets it when some of your classmates around you, they get to read through history and look at people who look like them, who ran this country, who were considered these heroes, who considered titans of business, and all we're known to be is the employees, the lackeys, the people who work for them. I mean, or the people who were enslaved to them. It's empowering to know that, hey, there are some of your people that even if they started with these humble beginnings as slaves, that they were able to build themselves up and do magnificent things. And it gives us hope that we can do magnificent things. He probably caught on to something. I guarantee you that. He probably caught on to something, but probably didn't want to rock the boat on certain things. I mean, if you're smart, you learn not to rock the boat on too many things. And I wanted to. This one other thing I do want to show. This doesn't have to do with necessarily Black history, but I want to show it anyway. And I guess the last thing I'll say, kind of in wrapping up Black history for today, because I think we have one more week before February's out. Excuse me. Oh, another thing. A lot of people ask, well, why was Black History Month February? Oh, they only gave us February because it's the shortest month. No, they picked February because it was the same month as Abraham Lincoln's birthday. And since Abraham Lincoln is given credit for freeing the slaves, they figured it would be fitting to make his birthday, Black History, the same month as his birthday. But let me show. And I guess in closing, the reason why I think Black History Month is still important, because although the American curriculum is set up a certain way, without sectioning off this portion for us to give acknowledgments to Black Americans who created things, I'm pretty sure most of these things would be lost and we wouldn't know anything about them. And so when you have that racist kid in your class who's like, yeah, you Black people ain't never did nothing, you have nothing, you have no pushback. You have no pushback because you don't know any better, because it's not going to be taught in regular curriculum. And for people to say, well, why wouldn't it be taught in regular curriculum? Do you know that most of the curriculum had to go through this approval process from the Daughters of the Confederacy? Now, you think the Daughters of the Confederacy are going to be teaching about Black history and infusing that into the curriculum? No, they weren't. So therefore, it needed to be segregated off to be put in there. Especially when, and sometimes it's not even about race per se. Well, it's not about somebody being racist. When you have a school board that may be predominantly white, they might not see it as a big deal to cut this one thing out of school. Oh, why does anybody care about the person who added this device on the ice cream scooper that created our modern day ice cream scoopers? Why is that important? Why are some of these, the guy who came up with this invention to well, not invention, but who helped this invention of basically fabricating shoes at a faster mode to be able to pump out shoes mass production, so that the cost of shoes can go down and everybody can use those. Why would that be important? Because when you've been, and I'll say this over and over and over, when you've been shown in the country that, for one, you're not only not the standard of beauty, that you're considered ugly, you're considered inferior, you're considered stupid, you're considered nothing but a slave. Something like this can be empowering to lead you to do magnificent things. And just this little bit of information can go so far. And it's like, why would you not want these people to want to pick themselves up by their bootstraps and push for more? You want them to be mentally depressed and feel like they can never do anything but just stay on the bottom of society? If that's your answer, then that tells me a lot about you. So let me see. There was one other video that I wanted to share. Well, like two other videos that I wanted to share. Oh, I guess I'll go into this young lady here. Because as you know, no matter what, the racism still carries on. This is why people need to be careful what they say when they go into these different countries, because you never know. You just never know. Oh, untold amounts, Jackie. Untold amounts died on construction sites. I mean, and how many died during construction and how many died just because they were taken to that construction site and tossed into the concrete to hide the body? That's a whole nother question. But I want to show this real quick.
At a bar with friends, and I guess they were drinking.
Actually, let me read this off for you. It says an incident in Rio de Janeiro involving Argentinian tourists. Remember, I was telling you guys about these Argentinians tourists has sparked international debate. Brazil has strict anti-discrimination laws, and violations can lead to serious legal consequences. This case is a reminder that when you travel, you're stepping into another country's legal and cultural framework. Even online, evidenced by how Brazilians drag their own countrymen for being bigots on my post. You know the culture is authentic. What are your thoughts? So let's get to the video.
So did you guys know that racism is illegal in Brazil and can actually get you arrested? Guys, I'm about to go over one of the biggest fuck around and find out stories that you might have heard in the travel space in a while. But basically, this 29-year-old female from Argentina named Agustina Paez was visiting Rio de Janeiro in January. She was at a bar with friends, and I guess they were drinking, having a good old time. The tab came by. She was in disagreement with the amount I guess she was being charged. A dispute ended up happening. She exited the establishment and then proceeded to do monkey noises, basically calling the staff monkeys, which is considered racism. And so she thought she was going to get away with it. Everything was going to be cool. She was going back to Argentina, no problem. Psych. Brazil said, hell nah, we ain't standing for that. And they got her ass. They arrested her. And then on top of that, they released her on an ankle bracelet. And she has to remain in Brazil for the duration of time until they sentence her. And she could be sentenced to 2 to 5 years of imprisonment. Okay? So Brazil does not fuck around when it comes to racism, guys. Make sure you're doing your research when you're going to a different country before you end up getting locked up for something stupid. I know people that have been locked up for smoking cigarettes, smoking weed overseas. And I'm not even trying to say that racism is something you guys should be doing overseas. Like, obviously, learn to be a bit more open-minded and not be ignorant. I don't condone racism. But in this case, this idiot didn't realize that racism is illegal in Brazil. She thought it was like Argentina where you could say and do whatever you want. But in Brazil, you can't do that. And they locked her ass up, and she found out very quickly that you can't fuck around in Brazil. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed that story. And make sure you do your research before you go to other countries, guys. Simple as that.
Yes. And
so did you?
I don't know, you can call me petty or not, but I happen to love that story. I don't know. Lately, I've just been feels good to see racists kind of get put in their place for doing stupid stuff like this. And if you know the history of Argentina in general, it's one of those places where they went out of their way to widen the population. They went out of their way to, um, open up immigration for Europeans to come into that country. Some of them, mind you, were running from World War II, and the crimes that they did in Germany. And as they whitened the country and they pushed out more black and brown people, country started to take on a little bit of a different tenor. And more of those people started to become a little bit more racist. And I've noticed people from Argentina, Uruguay, sometimes Paraguay, those three online social media, those are the three most racist Latinos that I run into on a regular basis. That is what I've noticed. Those three in particular. And I wonder, if that is because of, all those Europeans that brought in, is it just the Europeans in general, or is it because they came from that certain place? You said some Venezuelans too. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it, because I think you run into it in every country in Latin America to some degree. I think you run into it in every country to some degree. I just haven't really ran into it with Venezuelans so far. Because I know that you have a big chunk of that within Cubanos, where you have a big chunk that are very racist, and many of them are racist towards their own people within. So it doesn't matter, you know, if you're a fellow Cubano, they don't care. Um, so I was mainly talking about workplace violence, accidents. Marcus completely forgot about the people being, yeah. It's a fact of the matter. I mean, America during those time periods, if a certain group of people, like for instance, when Yonina was talking about the sundown towns, one thing which makes sundown towns different, even if they still do exist, makes them different now than back then, is because now there's more ways for you to get caught, and it's more likely that once it hits the light of judges, and it hits the light of the media and stuff, it's less likely you're going to get away with that. Whereas back then, it literally went through the courts, you were in jail, evidence was there, and they still were finding you not guilty, even though you were completely in the wrong. There'd be witnesses that saw everything that happened, and you still got away with it scot free. I mean, that's what was literally happening with many of those massacres that I showed. The police were involved in the massacres. So what do you do when the police are the ones helping? Says, forgot to mention Kim Iverson got called out by China dailies and Deborah Ham for beefing with Chinese people on Twitter. It don't surprise me. I think, I don't know what Kim is. I don't know what type of Asian she is. I know she's half Asian, half white, but just whenever you see her start talking about black stuff, I already know she's racist. She might not consider herself racist, but the way she covers stuff, to me, she's a racist, and I don't really rock with Kim Iverson like that. Best looking Oompa Loompa. She's half Vietnamese. Is that what it is? I mean, I know whatever she is. I don't know, is that if that's her Asian side, if that's the white side. I did know she grew up in like Idaho, and so I think that probably has something to do with it. But I don't rock with the Kim Iversons. I mean, occasionally she gets put into my feeds, and just like any of these people who I can't stand, I'll still hear information from you if I think that, I mean, if I can, go through and vet the information is correct, I'll take information from anybody, no matter how much I despise or disdain them, as long as the information is correct. But I make no mistake, I do not like Kim Iverson. I think she is a piece of crap racist. What else? Oh yeah, that's right. I did just have this other topic that I wanted to bring up. Well, not really a topic, but a video that I wanted to show. And this was going back while we were on the whole racist thing. Hold on a sec. Is this the right video? Let's see. Yeah, this is the right one. So, with the whole, while we're talking about races in general, Megyn Kelly, remember what she was saying during the Super Bowl, how she got onto her whole little meltdown? I thought this was a great video breaking down when people talking about, you know, the Super Bowl and, oh, it needs to be American football. And okay, all right. Listen to what my brother over here has to say. I don't like Tim Pool's bitch ass either, so.
Yo, I just saw this yesterday.
Football, that kind of football, is ours. They call it American football. And the halftime show and everything around it needs to stay quintessentially American. Not Spanish, not Muslim, not anything other than good old-fashioned American apple pie. There should be a meatloaf, maybe some fried chicken, and an English-speaking performer.
And I have thoughts, Miss Kelly. You said that kind of football is ours. Sure, but American football stems from English rugby and wasn't normalized until the 1880s. It's a religion here, but the foundation is British. You said the halftime show needs to stay quintessentially American. Well, Puerto Rico became part of the U.S. in 1898. And as I mentioned in my last video, Puerto Ricans became citizens in 1917. So American football from British rugby and Puerto Ricans becoming U.S. citizens happened within a few decades of each other. Also, Bad Bunny is a U.S. citizen. You said good old-fashioned American pie. Well, apples originate from modern-day Kazakhstan. And apple pie, that recipe came from Dutch settlers, the same ones who founded New Amsterdam, which today is known as New York City. Meatloaf, brought to you by German and Italian immigrants in the late 1800s. Fried chicken, introduced by Scottish immigrants who fried chicken in lard, and enslaved black cooks, mostly from West Africa, who helped create and cement it as we know it today. Every food you name is a third culture outcome of immigration and forced labor. Ms. Kelly, hot dogs are from Jewish immigrants, hamburgers from German immigrants. This country put Japanese Americans in internment camps, but now loves sushi. The Chinese Exclusion Act wasn't lifted until 1943, but today every small town has a Chinese restaurant. Because America doesn't create culture from scratch. Every tradition we call American started somewhere else, landed here, and became something new. That's what makes this country great. And everything you're calling un-American right now, give it 50 years. You mention Muslims for no reason, but have you tried halal card chicken and rice? It's already a classic New York dish. Reggaeton and K-pop will be oldies. What's foreign today becomes quintessentially American tomorrow. But in the meantime, I like to ask you to hang out. Let's chill in Queens. Grab Egyptian-style seafood at Hamido in Astoria, Colombian gelato in Jackson Heights, or then hit up a Korean spa in Flushing. You know what I mean? Holla at me, all right? Peace and blessings.
Great video. I thought it was a nice touch also. I don't know. I'm gonna test my crowd. I don't know. This might go over your head, but can anybody name? Can you name any of those songs that he used the audios for, or even the artists of those songs? I just want to test the audience, see where y'all at, see if anybody knows. Yes, Megyn Kelly is an idiot, and he basically made her look very, very stupid. Yeah, exactly. The Nation of Islam, these are Americans who became Muslims. Are you going to kick them out? And Oh, bravo, bravo, bravo. You got the last one. The last one was Big Pun and Joe. Oh, post a link. All right. Will do. But that's so. Oh shoot, cuz is in the building. What's up, Ladarius? So the first one, that first song in there is from Tego Calderon, and then the second song is a Fat Joe song. And so I guess to throw insult at her, he chose 3 Puerto Ricans. I'm doing all right. I'm struggling through, these internet streets, dealing with these crazy people. Got to get ready for bed, but thanks for a great show. Glad you had the time to stop through. Yeah, I don't know how much longer I'll go since I did it, a little later on a Sunday. But it's just a couple of things I want to touch on. I think the last topic that I really had, I think it's going to address another comment that I saw out there. Oh yeah, what was his name? Mexico is kind of going crazy right now. Mexico is going crazy. What was his name? El Mincho. El Mincho got taken out, who was the head of the Jalisco cartel. So that'll be interesting to see what goes on with that. Yeah, he's the lead of the Jalisco New Generation cartel, which, as we know, we'll just move on to new hands. And I've kind of been out of the loop on following what's been going on with the cartels. So I don't know who it is, but oh yeah, he got took out. I mean, I'm trying to remember. You guys know Nature Boy that's on here often. Nature Boy is actually in Puerto Vallarta right now. And so he's like, y'all say prayers for me. I mean, I'm all right now, but say prayers because it's a little dicey right now. And so I know this is going to lead to all kind of assassinations and stuff going on in the next coming weeks for anybody who's down there. And the crazy part about it is, I mean, he might be a little safer being in Puerto Vallarta because that's more of a tourist part, but he gets too far away from there, he could be in some trouble. I mean, so definitely anybody who's near the Jalisco area, good luck. It also makes me worry that Trump administration might get some stuff kickstarted now because they'll say, "Oh, well, look, it's spinning out of control, so now's the time for us to go in there and go straighten things up." But hopefully not. Prayers to everybody who's living down there in Mexico. Yeah, I had to put that up, Atras. And then the last subject that I have on my agenda to talk about. Like I said, I probably won't keep you guys long. It'll probably be a shorter show. Because got to start settling down and get ready for work tomorrow. Being that this show, I don't know, my sleep has been kind of all out of whack this weekend, so I didn't get up till late today. And like I told you guys, with all the crap that I've been kind of viewing in and stuff, so much negativity, seeing online and just people just bickering right and left, it's made me just kind of like try to, get a little bit of mental sanity for a moment. But you know, it feels good to be able to talk about it with you all, where I'm at, and know that most of you guys are not falling into the traps and the division. Oh, something else I did want to bring up. Um, I know many people have already kicked TikTok, or they're not on TikTok at all. I understand that. Something that I noticed weird, because I just haven't. I don't think I've posted any new video on TikTok since, since it got taken over by the Ellisons. But I've noticed like my For You suggestions have gotten weird. I have never I've never searched anything about Jewish people on there at all. But now all of a sudden I noticed this guy put up this video, and I noticed in my For You, my third thread down, sorry, my third thread down, I saw this also. And I've seen a bunch of black guys are getting this. It's Jewish girls love black men. I'm like, why is this like trending to all black men? And I'm like, it seems a little fishy. And what I'm thinking it is this a weak ass attempt at trying to get black men on the side of Israel by trying to honeypot us with Jewish girls? I mean, maybe I'm just being a conspiracy theorist. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe it's nothing to it. Maybe it's just been randomly a whole lot of videos that have been going out about that, and that's what generated this content. I don't know. But at the same time, I do notice that I'm starting to see more content about other women saying black men are the lowest of the totem pole, that nobody wants to date black men. And I don't know, both of those at the same time are kind of weird. Hey, black men, don't get Charlie Kirk. Yeah, I hear you. I just think that something's weird about it, where you got the typical group of, like, I saw a video, I think it was, what I would say, it's probably two white girls, two Hispanic girls are talking about how black men are just like the worst to date and the lowest on the totem pole. And almost the responses too, from what I heard, because I didn't really go into the actual TikTok videos, but some of the responses back has been, I guess, that, oh, that they must have did you wrong or did you dirty or whatever. Like, let's just not give let's not give people like this air. I saw a TikTok video that this one girl was saying a whole bunch of, negative stuff and trying to start these whole diaspora wars and stuff. I'm like, no, I'm not getting on here with you because now you just want to bang on Haitians for some random reason. I'm tired of y'all doing all this crap. You can find one person that says, and that's something I almost fell into that trap with it on Sinners. It was one Mexican content creator who came out with like, there's not enough Mexican representation in this movie. And then the whole narrative became Mexicans are all mad because Ryan Coogler didn't put a bunch of Mexicans or didn't put any Mexicans in Sinners. And at that time, I found one content creator that was saying that. Just like, I've seen other ones where all black people are mad about Bad Bunny's halftime performance. Okay, I've seen some of them that were negative, but I've seen a whole lot who weren't. And we can't be getting caught up with two or three people say one thing and then, overreact and get ticked off at the whole group of people. Just like, to be honest, I've only heard mostly, not good things about Koreans and black people, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to take that approach to, every Korean person. I need to go at them on a negative mode because of those other things. Now, doesn't mean that I shouldn't be cautious. Doesn't mean that I should not be cautious, definitely. But can't let myself automatically project what this one person said negative onto these other people instantly. We got to be smarter than that, because I think that there's a bigger goal that's going on right now of pushing for division, divide and conquer. And I think a big part of that, honestly, this is going to seem like it's out of left field. Maybe I'm right or wrong, but I think that if it can get these diaspora wars, like you brought up earlier about the Koreans and they're beefing with all the Pacific Islanders, and then Bad Bunny's performance, you had like the Argentinians beefing with Bad Bunny, and then you had like Black Americans that they're beefing with, the Somali community, and they're beefing with Haitians and Jamaicans, and it seems like it's a big attempt to get a whole bunch of other minority groups to all be pointing fingers and beefing at each other. When, if you go back a couple of years ago, the world was all kind of in agreement that they were very upset with, had a big problem with what was going on over there in Palestine. And when we were all in agreement, had a big issue with what was going over there. Now it's gotten to the point where nobody even hardly mentions it. We've just kind of accepted that, okay, well, they just gonna take the whole country, and next thing you know, start moving into this other country, and the whole greater Israel project is going to go into full swing, and no criticism of it, while at the same time getting 3 people from this group and 4 people from that group to say stuff that gets everybody all upset. I don't know. I could be maybe thinking too kumbaya, and that there's more people that agree on more things and there's less division than I see that's being put out there. Or it could be, or it could be all that division and I'm just wrong. I don't know. It just seems like this is all being generated, and I look at how right now at this time, probably the most in my lifetime, people who align with the people who have power in Israel, people who align with the whole greater Israel project, are the ones who have more control over the airwaves. And I'm just noticing, seems like something's up. Oh yeah, I've definitely been noticing that they've been trying to push more and more Black people to the right wing. That's what I think FBA is. FBA is one of the biggest weapons of pushing Black people to the right. And the crazy part about it is, you're pushing them to the right. The right is the biggest people who are not going to help you do a damn thing. So it's wild to me. You might as well just say, you know what? I don't care about FBA. I don't care about trying to get reparations. I'm just going to become a capitalist, because the FBA stuff is irrelevant at that point. Reparations is irrelevant if you're going to become a Republican, because that's something you definitely sure in the hell ain't going to get. I don't know. I just feel like the more and more we watch, the more and more I think that it will become illuminated. I mean, we got right now that DHS is building more of these so-called camps, and they say it's going to be for all the undocumented. And I just say that, why would you build more? Why would you build more and more and more and more and more of these buildings that are for temporary, holding people? Seems like you're building these for long-term holding people. And after you've deported as many people as you want to deport, or the economy goes crappy enough that some of these people just decide to leave, seems like they'll find a reason for other people to go fill those spots. And since they can't deport many of us, they'll find something else. They'll find another way to deal with us. Can't deport us. Can't put us away because we didn't commit a crime. But they'll find another way to deal with us. Just saying. And let me put this back on. Let's see. Any prediction when the U.S. attacks? I think when the Gerald Ford is in position is when the U.S. will attack. That's possible. That's very, very well. I know that it's not going to happen until they're there, definitely. But let me see. What am I looking for? Hold on. I guess I could have typed this on my phone, but I wanted to. Let's see. I probably should have just asked one of my Muslims in the chat so the evening of Tuesday, February 17th, 2026 was the start of Ramadan, and the end of Ramadan is March 19th, 2026. I think it's definitely going to come within this time period. I think I mean, I don't know a whole lot about Ramadan, but I would imagine whatever is like one of the more if they have like a particular day which is mostly important in Ramadan, I don't know. I would look at that because what other way what's the best way to be, you know, uh kind of bad phrasing. I don't know if you wanted to go against your enemy and you wanted to be the most offensive as possible, I would think during during one of their holy holidays, and at the height of it would be when you were searching for. So it could just be whenever the Gerald Ford gets into position. It could be that basically they're waiting until they get a couple other things lined up. They could be holding till they get their embedded spy, try to find a way to get their spy out of Iran because they've said that they have a spy that's embedded at the top levels, part of that 22-man council. So they might be trying to figure out how to get that Mossad agent out of there safely. I don't know, but I think it is definitely upon us and will be coming soon. And I don't know, there's always a lot of talk, but I guess we'll see how far that really goes because they say that this time is not going to just be 1 day or 2 days, 12 days, 10 days. They say that this is going to be weeks, if not months. And what that's sounding like is that's sounding very close to another Iraq type situation. I mean, we'll see. It depends on how far Iran decides to go if they're not going to pull their punches this time around. I mean, let's see if they're going to not only not pull their punches against Israel, are they going to go full force and actually attack one of our carriers? If not our carriers, what, they're going to take out a cruiser or frigate? I mean, how far are they willing to go? Some of these bases, which, they kind of do roof taps on, are they going to do roof taps or are they going to actually hit something? Because there's definitely at this point a target rich environment if Iran wanted to do something. And right now we're bleeding through interceptor missiles and how slow it takes to refill that order of because here's the issue with these interceptors. You only have a certain amount of interceptors that you have on a ship. Once you've used those, you can't refuel those out. I mean, you can't reload those out to sea. You have to pull back into port to get those all reloaded back up. And you can send very, very cheap munitions to, get them to fire off these very expensive missiles that we're talking about. The interceptors are easily what, couple million, 4 or 5 million a piece. And I think you only have the capacity of let's say like 100 of them per ship. So I could see a situation. That's probably why they're trying to get as many ships there as possible. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting situation that's brewing up. And if they're doing that, then what is the hidden hand, trick that's going on? What other place is about to get hit? Because they always like to, fly under the radar and do some clandestine attack that most of the time we don't hear about till years later. So I imagine something else is always going on. It's just a matter of what. And I think before we know it, we're going to be full fledged into this thing. So I don't know. I look at Trump, what he said years back about Obama. He said that Obama, his poll numbers are starting to drop. He's going to start a war so that, it'll cover up for his bad poll numbers. And Trump, if anything, is probably one of the biggest projectors I've ever seen. Dude is always going to call what he calls everybody else is what he is. He calls everybody liars and fat and that's him. He says that they're low intelligence, that's him. So let's see what this dumb, corrupt man tries to do. Well, I'm at the point now, people talking about vote harder. I don't think voting is going to matter. I don't think there's much we could do. I think that too much is already in autopilot. I think voting, the only thing voting does really is it helps gives this illegitimate system some semblance of legitimacy. That's all I think voting actually does. So they can say, well you voted for this. Yeah, if we don't vote for it, the shit's still going to happen anyway, too. So I don't know. I mean, I think things will happen, but just the severity is a little bit differently. Oh, I know it's sarcasm, but I'm saying, do I think that Kamala Harris would have done the same exact thing? No, I don't. But if she wouldn't have done this, it would have been something else that she would have done. I think, like, on the major thing of walking us closer towards World War III, I don't think that she was there. I don't think that she was quite there. Does that mean that I think she would have been great or good or any of that? No, it doesn't. I mean, if you've already been stabbed 3 times, somebody who decides to not stab you anymore, that's not helping you necessarily. I mean, you're still dealing with the stabs you already have. You need somebody who's going to address the wounds that you have. Whereas I feel Trump is the person who he's going to pour salt on those wounds. He's going to put a couple extra blades in you. That's the only difference. One is going to keep the system at its moderate pace of doing the same harm that it's been doing, whereas one is going to accelerate the harm. And you have the choice of mitigate the damage that's coming to us or accelerate the damage. And I only see it going one of the two ways. Either you deal with the Dems and they slowly let the damage continue, or you deal with the other one who's going to full speed ahead towards the damage. I don't know. Well, that's pretty much all I have today. I mean, I'm looking at the news and I've kind of been just like, I don't know what's going on out there. I mean, it all looks crazy, and I'm waiting for the crazy to get going. Honestly, I've always grown up thinking that we were going to face a post-apocalyptic society. So I've always had it in my mind when it all falls down, then hey, now it's time to live. So we'll see where it goes. Of course, I'm not wishing for a horrendous future on everybody, but I'm just saying it's something I've always expected to happen. And so when it happens, I'm not going to be surprised. That's the reason why I prepare the way I do. That's the reason why I stock things aside, because I know one day that shoe's going to drop. But yeah, that's all I got, everybody. I mean, much appreciation for everybody who, swung through. I appreciate y'all. Whether you came in for the whole show, you came in, hopped in and out, you were here for a little bit, or you're going to watch this later. I appreciate and love all of you, and wish nothing but the best for you. My cousin Ladarius, make sure you send my love to the family, all my people out there. Hopefully that, I know everybody out there is not a person of faith, but I pray blessings to you all. For those who are not people of faith, I hope the best for you. That said, guess we'll see you guys next week. And I'll holler at you. Peace.
There is discrimination in this world, and slavery and slaughter and starvation. Governments repress their people. Millions are trapped in poverty, while the nation grows rich, and wealth is lavished on armaments everywhere. These are differing evils, but they are the common works of man. They reflect the imperfection of human justice, the inadequacy of human compassion, our lack of sensibility towards the suffering of our fellows. But we can perhaps remember, even if only for a time, those who live with us are our brothers, that they share with us the same short moment of life, that they seek as we do, nothing but the chance to live out their lives in purpose and happiness, winning what satisfaction and fulfillment they can.